Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Footpod. Footpod, your daily, of course, podcast on a weekly basis, where we bring together two of the finest minds in Indian football. And baat hogi na Indian football ki, baat hogi European football ki. My name is Arjun Pandit. I've been a sports broadcaster, commentator, presenter, what you may call it, for the last 15, 20 years. And to my right is Floyd Pinto. You all know, of course, what Floyd has done with the Indian age group teams. Floyd, good to have you as always, sir. And to my left is Mr. Richard Hood. And I think we all know what Richard's contribution is to the Indian game, whether it be with Bengaluru, whether it be with, of course, coach education. And he continues to do so as far as Indian football is concerned. Guys, good to have you as always. थोड़ा समय लग गया, 2 हफ्ते बाद हम लोग मिल रहे हैं, लेकिन ये इंटरनेशनल ब्रेक जो ये लंबा इंटरनेशनल ब्रेक है and तो चल रहा है international break, which means our topics stay relevant. Because Floyd, the topic which we're starting with, and I don't know if you remember that when we started this pod, we were started with a lot of, zor shor se about Liverpool and the attacking intent of Liverpool. And it's so nice to see it. And this coming from an Arsenal fan who, who became a fan of that club courtesy of that expansive style under Arsene Wenger. And at that time, the chatter was, we'll find a way. And I'm not saying that way won't be found. In fact, before, of course, I come to you, this last week and a half, has been a clear reflection of where we stand in broadcast, मेरे हिसाब से. अगर आप 4 weeks into the season, आप डे बोल रहे हो कि एक का टाइटल चैलेंज डीरेल हो गया, फिर आप कह रहे हो कि एक टाइटल चैलेंजर बन गया है, in a 8-month season, then I'm sorry, the lens is on you, the broadcaster and commentator, but maybe that is the nature of it, that हर हफ्ते आपको आना है, आपको कुछ ना कुछ कहना है. But एक मोटी जो बात निकली है फ्लॉयड, and मैं कहीं ना कहीं सहमत हूं इसमें, because जो आपने टीम बनाई है लिवरपूल ने, because we're talking about Liverpool, what's happened with Liverpool, that 2 losses, and it's the kind of goals you're conceding as well, more than the losses, if I may say. And the chatter has come around Mohamed Salah. Up until 3-4 years before this, Mohamed Salah could do no wrong. Last season, when Slot came in, how will you use Salah? So Slot said, don't worry, we don't need you at the back. The team is very well defense-oriented. We will shut shop if we have to. Salah, you stay in front. But अब आपके वर्ड्स आ गए, अब आपके वहाँ पे इजाक आ गए, अब आपके पास वहाँ पे मैकलिस्टर चल नहीं रहे हैं. In that sense, and the game is a lot more open. Frimpong आ गया, everyone is going in front. Basketball style is what they're calling it. So the lens is now on Mohamed Salah and his lack of defensive contribution. A, do you think there is a lack of defensive contribution? B, do you think they can manage like this for the season going forward? I am not talking about title contenders. I am not talking about anything material. I'm just asking you very simply, in the coming weeks, do we see a change or they continue going about the same?
Well, I did say we are playing at 40% of potential.
Yeah. Well done, sir. Welcome back.
in that podcast. No, you just asked me. You asked me the question: will we see a change? I would not like to see any change. I would just like to see some stability for some a few games in a row. Because the one thing that I didn't expect it from Arne Slot was change. From what I saw last season, he was so reluctant to make any changes. We've lost players like, say, Harvey Elliott, Jarrell Kwanzaa. We've lost. So Trent was playing, and even Conor Bradley wasn't getting that many chances. Kevin Kelleher in goal. So all these players who were second fiddle must have realized, okay, this guy doesn't make any changes, so we are not going to get any game time, and they left the club. And this season it has been completely opposite. He's trying to find a way. He's trying to find the balance, but it's not about the players. It's not about the system as compared to we've been discussing about other teams, but it is just about stability. And I think, I hope, we've discussed earlier about Pep Guardiola and Pep Linders having that conversation at the international break, and it changed things for Manchester City. I hope in this international break, they've kind of just sat down and said, okay, let's have some stability. Let's pick on that first 11 and let's just let them play for the next 2 or 3 games and let's see how things go. Because I think stability is the most important thing that I'd look for right now. And when it comes down to Salah, I mean, it's impossible that he would replicate the season that he had last year.
Yes.
And the goals and the assists that he's contributed for for Liverpool. But the only issue is he's playing in and around new players. He himself said, I don't. I've not yet found that combination that I had with Trent, with Darwin Núñez, with Luis Diaz. So he has who's going to play at right back. He doesn't know that. When last season he knew that Trent's going to play. Who's going to play at centre forward at the moment? He doesn't know that. In fact, the player that I've seen that has combined with him the most and the best so far is Florian Wirtz. He's probably created, I think, 3 to 4 top quality chances for him where Salah should have finished. And that has been the difference this year, that Salah has just not been able to finish the chances that have fallen to him. And last season as well, all these years, Salah has always been someone that has frustrated you. The simple chances he misses and then he scores a wonder goal. But
it's not Salah scoring, more so the defensive capabilities of Salah or the lack of it in that 11. I'll tell you why last season itni baat nahi ho rahi thi, because there was no Wirtz, there was no Isak, McAllister was in form. Now suddenly, if you have to adjust a Wirtz who's not known for his defensive capabilities, वो आता है shape में, चलो ठीक है, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा नहीं आता shape में. For Isak, for McAllister who's not in form, suddenly now you have one more guy who's of course been the talisman of your club and will be for a long time. How do you then adjust that 11-10 off the ball versus the expansive and of course the very all-attacking Premier League teams?
No, you have, for me, the right back has to be decided who's going to play there. It's going to be Frimpong or it's going to be Conor Bradley. And that has also affected Konate at centre back. His positioning, him coming out of position to cover up for the lack of opportunities at right back. That has been the problem for us. And you're talking about Salah. It has been very well known last season as well that he himself said that Arne Slot wants him to stay at the half line and not defend and convert those chances. So and we are getting those chances. This is why I say it's a fine line. I know it's you might say otherwise looking at it from a Liverpool's point of view, but from a Liverpool's fan point of view, if we convert the chances that we had this season, we wouldn't be talking about these kind of Salah not tracking back and not working hard. Wirtz is one of the most hard-working players in the team. He's had the highest number of high-speed runs in the game. He's covered the most kilometers in the game when it comes to 90-minute football. He's not a player that slags off the ball. So it's just about finding that balance for me, and that balance will come down from finding the stability in your starting 11. And once we see the same starting 11 for a couple of games, 3 games, 4 games, that's when we us actually click.
I get where you're coming from, because Richard, mere bhai, the basketball connotation that's come about Liverpool is now what, of course, even Floyd is referred to, is that कि मतलब आपको गोल मारना है, मारो, हम 6 मार देंगे. मतलब टीम वैसी बनी हुई है कि मतलब हमें मौके मिलेंगे तो हम मारते रहेंगे गोल. My point is from a season perspective, sir. आप लीग जीतते हो, आप लीग में प्रबल दावेदार बनते हो जब आप कम कंसीड करते हो. Of course गोल मारते हो, लेकिन over a longer period, a 8-month period, how tight you are at the back, how less you concede at the back, that goes on to tell you how well you do in this league. So my point is this: okay, you score 3, and eventually they will get their zone right, they will get their 11 right, they will get that the tuning right. It will happen with time. But is it possible in the Premier League kind of era, Premier League kind of stage, you score 3, हम 5 मार देंगे, no problem. 2 मारो, हम 3 मार देंगे.
I think it goes a bit beyond the scoreline as well. मतलब not just about you scoring 2 and then we'll score 3. क्योंकि I think last time भी जब हम लोग ने बात किया था, ये नहीं था कि लिवरपूल के जितने भी wins आए थे, they were convincing wins. They could have easily been draws or may have been a loss also. I think Floyd also acknowledged that they were walking a really tight rope in terms of managing the 90 minutes. और ये स्टेबिलिटी आप देखो कौन-कौन उनके बैक फोर में खेल रहा है. मतलब सेंटर बैक में भी कौन आके खेल रहा है. I mean at right back you've got one of the best midfielders in Europe going over there and playing. And stability can't come this way. As in if you're trying to improvise players and उनकी versatility के नाम पे 11 चलाते जा रहे हो, 2 things can happen. मतलब because of having better technical players, you end up keeping the ball a lot more. You end up conceding less attempts at your goal because you have that much control of the game. जो हो रहा है, But when it comes down to bare bones defending and whatever you criticize, अभी वो Trent Alexander-Arnold के बारे में भी जो बातचीत चल रही थी, that good event, he was never really a right back, he was masquerading as a right back, he actually was a midfielder. But somebody who's come through and spent his initial years in that position, he gave Salah a lot of relief as well in terms of sharing the duty. Abhi, agar ek hi wing pe do players are not, let's say, primed to do the defensive work, as in when you lose possession and things, Szoboszlai and ye Salah ka jo bhi link up or whatever, you need to combine together to make that zone ineffective, force play or whatever intent you have when the ball reaches there. Agar wo ek sath nahi ho raha with a seasoned defender, that is where the stability and let's say the reliability of the entire process selection starts to get questioned. So I doubt for a single minute that Salah's work rate has gone down, which Floyd has pointed out with the running stats and high speed distances, sprinting distances. Yes, sir, that is obviously there. And it's a game of margins, especially for a striker. Abhi hum log baat kar rahe hain, he's not hitting that many goals, but this is the low scoring sport in the world. Matlab matches are decided on 2-1, 1-2. I mean, just look at the points. So it could be like a temporary clinical error. Matlab, he's just not able to find the back of the net, though the chances are falling at his feet. And last bit is, last season though tha, there was a very little overlap in terms of Slot taking over from Klopp. So उसने भी ज़्यादा adjustment करने की कोशिश नहीं की, उसने भी इतनी changes करने की कोशिश नहीं की. I think with a zero transfer window, what he pulled off, that also came because he worked with what was there. Abhi is saal you're trying to work and tweak, and not only tweak, like massively manage whatever resources you have at your disposal, trying to create a 11. और उसमें भी जितने भी podcast सुनोगे अभी दूसरी तरफ से, is he compelled to start with Wirtz? Is he compelled to ensure XYZ players are there on the pitch at all times? Like those sort of uncertainties are being voiced out now. I mean,
but these things are a real problem, ना Richard मेरे भाई. अगर आपने 130 million words पे डाले हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं तो back of your mind है, खिलाना तो पड़ेगा भाई. क्यों नहीं खिलाना पड़ेगा? तो उस लिहाज से मतलब
yeah, but Arne Slot is not shy from dropping him, right? And he's realized that the 4-2-3-1 sometimes doesn't work, and he's reverted back to the 4-3-3. And in that system, I wouldn't be surprised as we go into the season that even Salah is kept on the bench for a few matches.
That's what I was coming to, Floyd. If it continues the same, then is that decision taken sooner than later for you?
I hope it is taken. I don't mind players being put on the bench because we have options. What worries me and what's disturbing me at right now, it's not sitting down well, is those in-game changes. You have Konate being taken off, Ryan Gravenberch goes and plays as a centre back. The centre forward's taken out, and you have sometimes Florian Wirtz playing there, or you don't know whether Hugo Ekitike is playing on the left or Gakpo is playing on the left. Then Szoboszlai has played probably every position at this moment.
Yes, I know.
Every possible position. Who's playing left back? Kirkes is playing, or Andy Robertson is playing.
But then, how do you fix this problem, how do you fix it? My point is that if you're a coach and you've got that embarrassment of riches, and you've brought about that embarrassment of riches, and from whatever vision you've seen, how do you fix it? मतलब stability कैसे लाओगे आप वहाँ पे?
For me, I think that we need that trio in midfield, which is Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai. That's the base. Everything else should work around that. So if Wirtz needs to play on the left wing, as he's done for Leverkusen, as he sometimes does for Germany as well, then be it in place of Cody Gakpo or in place of Mohamed Salah. But having or if he plays in the midfield, he should be playing as a part of a 3, not a number 10, because that completely changes the way we play. A small tweak in that formation completely changes the way we play. We need a stable back 4. We've been so good throughout the years under Jurgen Klopp. I think there was a time where we had the same back 5 playing for 3 years running. Alisson, Trent, Konate, Van Dijk, and Robertson. No changes at all. And even the starting 11, you could name them for 3 years. Maybe they missed maybe 1 or 2 matches amongst them. So we need to get back to that stability. Last season as well, Arne Slot, you could literally name 13 players or 14 players that he used the entire season. Everybody else were an add-on. So you have options now. and we need to use them. We have the young kid in Rio Engamoa also who's broken in.
Yes.
So you have literally two. Federico Chiesa looks like the Federico Chiesa of old, the guy who was running the Italian national team for at one point of time. He was supposedly bought in as Salah's, to give Salah some break during during the very
Now they're saying Michael Olise is the next one now.
Then we could talk about a lot of players that.
But that's my point. Right? Okay,
Yeah.
I get your point. I get your drift, Floyd, and I completely understand where you're coming from. Get some stability. That has worked for the club over the last 5-6 years, which has been one of their most successful periods over a long time. And any coach will say that. I agree with you, Richard. Bhai, with what they have practically going forward, do you see that happening sooner than later, or do you still feel अभी time लगने वाला है? And जब तक आप finally figure out करोगे a way to handle the embarrassment of the riches or the resources at your hand and how best to use them in whichever way possible, will it be too late? Is my question.
From that one game that I watched against Atletico Madrid, I was convinced कि सब इनके पास ही जाने वाला है, like all 4 trophies and titles, despite not being a fan, because that display was quite something. Even the new faces coming in, the way they, हाँ वही ठीक है, 90 minutes तक भी ठीक ठाक था, but at least you felt like there was intent in things on the bits that you just spoke about. I mean, having a stable back five being repeated for 3 seasons in a row with barely 1 or 2 of them missing game between them for 3 years. Uske alawa, it's not just the starting 11, but the way these guys are cohesive with each other. It's not a question of you might have embarrassment of riches on the bench as well. Lekin agar unko laake the team's efficiency drops and you don't use them, or abhi lag raha hai that decision is not really being made. They're still trying to figure out what the most efficient 11 is in terms of what they want to accomplish. I mean, style of play, taking control of the game with the ball. I don't think the pressing is happening as much. I think Floyd can correct me there, but compared to the Klopp era, that has definitely dropped, and the amount of possession that they enjoy has increased a lot more. But Eketike and some of the other players, if you watch them technically, it's so much of a jump up. But Floyd जिसने बोला McAllister का जगह नहीं है पहले उसके, I mean, initially when we were making our best ideal 11s for Liverpool, now the 3 midfielders that he mentioned, it's very easy to imagine those 3 playing together and forming the remaining front 3 around that, as opposed to isko udhar dalna. So Wirtz has to play on the left, so be it. पर question को answer करना time तो लगेगा भाई. I don't think it's going to get solved anytime soon. Hopefully it does, because one is the team was great to watch last season, and I think in glimpses this season it wasn't bad at all. I mean, purely from a neutral point of view, at least it was exciting to play. अभी इसमें ये हो जाएगा कि it looks clueless, I think then that drops it in terms of appeal and what a neutral might look for.
I agree with you, sir. I there as a neutral, I love watching them play. There's no two bones about it. I love watching them play. And the fact that you're conceding, my only point is कि, see, if it were up to me, I would love to watch every team play like this. Play this basketball style of expansive football now. कि मतलब 3 मारो हम 6 मारेंगे. मेरा क्या, मेरे को बहुत enjoy कर रहा हूँ. मैं तो बैठ के, I'm glued to that TV set. But from a team's perspective, and you guys know this all too well, that you guys set up your teams and you have to take so many other things into account when you're playing a league. When you're playing tournament football, chalo theek hai. It can be a completely different, matter. But when you're playing a league, I don't know. I just feel like if that, Floyd, can I ask you one last thing? Since you are, you're Liverpool through and through, and before we end this chat, if this decision to bench Salah comes sooner than later, will it be received well?
Of course, it will be received well. It will be received well, yeah, because we have, in fact, in previous games, we were wondering why he wasn't taken off and Chiesa brought on in his place, because Chiesa was in such good form. And then when we traveled away for Champions League, I think Chiesa wasn't part of the squad. But then later we got to know he's having a slight niggle. So there are a lot of things going on at the back. But I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, it'll be received well if he's. I mean, we won't celebrate or something like that. But yeah, definitely.
No, as in for someone who's done so much.
So yeah, this is the requirement of the hour. Not just to give him a bit of rest, but maybe just to take him off the limelight at times. And we might find a different dynamic as well out there. in certain
सर
games.
उसका इंटरेस्टिंग ये सिनारियो ये होगा रिचर्ड कि अगर आपने सलाह को गिराया चलो ठीक है एंड द ऑब्वियस वन यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट टैक्टिकली द टीम नीड्स इट द वे द टीम हैज बीन मेड दिस सीजन it'll be interesting to see how Salah takes it, how of course the media chatter will feed on it for the next weeks and whatever. It'll be the topic of their discussion. Some will be saying you shouldn't drop him, some will be saying you should drop him, so on and so forth. But how Salah takes it internally, how he reacts to it. Sir, आप प्लेयर का सोचो ना, 5 साल से you're be all and all, right? You're the man who's making all the difference, and now that time has come. हर खिलाड़ी के टाइम में आता है, हर खिलाड़ी के समय में आता है कि अब सर आप थोड़ा बैठो, थोड़ा
नहीं
बैठो.
इसका
How you
the
react
other
to
factor
it?
also, he might be away for quite some time with the AFCON also coming up. So in the Jan window, जब भी ये tournament रहेगा, you will have him missing in those phases as well. So maybe not by plan कि उसको drop करो, but the solution that they might end up finding in his absence, or maybe the other African players going across to represent the countries in that tournament, depending on how far they go, if they pick up an injury or not, if they come back refreshed or not, how much time they need to step back into a team. Even that dynamic will be there. मतलब without dropping him explicitly, that AFCON window also becomes a turning point for teams. मतलब पहले I think teams are now signing players keeping the AFCON window in mind. And I think last year also जब इसका बात चल रहा था कि he might end up going to Saudi Arabia and all of that, the response that he gave, मतलब it looked like Liverpool is forcing him to stay. Then that was the entire media narrative. This was the guy you never trusted. This was the guy you all were willing to sell, and the performance that he's given led to the title and whatnot. I don't think उसके दिमाग में ये चल रहा था कि मीडिया ये सब बोल रहा है, कोच ने ड्रॉप किया, they didn't believe in me. I don't think any of that goes on. Fact is that if you're consistent for 5 years and opportunity presents itself, he will find strength and confidence in doing that again. Matlab, there's no doubt that he's a competitor. None of this is going to bring down his performance, nor is it going to rev him up to perform to another level just because people are saying something. I mean, seasoned athletes aren't affected by the chatter that happens outside. And he's thoroughbred Liverpool, bhai. Like he's a legend. I think 4th
नहीं
highest
सर
scorer in the Premier League.
human being तो है ना सर, human being को आपने धक्का दिया है.
कितना धक्का नहीं खाया भाई उसने. He's gone to Roma, Chelsea से reject हुआ. He's come over here, built himself up again. So it's part of this guy's DNA also to prove critics wrong.
To keep him on the bench first of all.
Exactly.
But he's not helping himself. He's not helping himself by not taking the chances. To be honest, the best chances have fallen to him. By now, I think Wirtz should have had at least 4-5 assists. Beautiful.
और उस बेचारे का narrative भी उल्टा हो गया almost.
He sees the game differently. I mean, yeah, he has 0 assists, 0 goals, everything in the stats. But when I actually watch games, and I watch games really closely, a classic example was the second half. As soon as it started and he was brought on, he did a little pirouette and gave a first touch cushion pass to Salah, and he hit it in the side netting on the near post. That should have been a goal. By Salah's standards, that was a goal, and that should have been the game for us. So he's just put it on a plate, literally put it on a plate for players to score a goal. So he needs to take his chances, because earlier what used to happen is, and this is where also someone like a Luis Diaz used to step in. And you see what he's doing at Bayern Munich. He did that for us as well. In moments, he used to run hard for us. He was one player who could just beat players 1v1 at a drop of a coin, score goals for us when Salah wasn't at his game, at his peak. So the other players, Gakpo has been that guy, but it has slightly tapered off in the last few games, and it's showing. But he's someone I think once he steps up will be good, because when he goes in for his national team, he's top notch, Cody Gakpo. So that is one. And second, we had the discussion about Salah. He signed a 2-year extension.
Yes.
And I don't see this management with Michael Edwards allowing any of the players' contract to run out for free. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of this season, he's sold for a good amount of money, and we part ways very happily. Both Salah and
basically Salah to Middle East is what you're saying.
They will not allow any contract to run down, and they'll be very specific with that. Even Konate's contract is up by the end of this year, so if he doesn't sign it, he's off. So these guys have been made very clear that we are not going to sell anyone on a free after that Trent incident, which they weren't there anyways at the club at that point of time.
Yeah, fair point, guys. Lovely discussion as always. Nothing less from both of you. हालांकि इस पूरे डिस्कशन में मैंने वो तड़पता हुआ सवाल तो पूछा नहीं, हैज लिवरपूल्स टाइटल होप्स बीन डिरेल्ड, और मैं पूछूंगा भी नहीं. वो आपको जो सोचना है आप सोचो. 4 हफ्ते के बाद अगर ये डिस्कशन हो रहा है That tells me more about you. Okay.
You flip that question. You have to flip that question. You have to get, has Arsenal's title hope got wind?
ना सर नहीं, हमने ना सर, मैंने ये मिठाई पहले भी खाई है, और इस मिठाई को खाने के बाद 6 महीने में मेरे पेट भी खराब हुआ है, तो मैं भी सर, हम पुराने खिलाड़ी हैं, मैं ये डिस्कशन होएगा ही नहीं, ये जनवरी वाला डिस्कशन है, जनवरी फरवरी वाला डिस्कशन।
Arteta can be at the wheel for some time. Let him drive the bus as much as he wants.
तब देखो सर, यहाँ पे अभी पर दिस सीजन थोड़ा तो बदल रहा है, पर चलो आर्सेनल की जब बात करेंगे तब करेंगे, बट फॉर दिस इज द प्रेसिंग इशू as far as Liverpool, and of course Mohamed Salah, of course someone who's done so well for them over this last 5-year period, and it's going to be a huge decision, tough or easy, whatever you might call it, needed, not needed, whatever you might call it, but it's going to be a huge decision for the club and for Arne Slot going forward.